now, in this session for the next, from now until 2:35, I'm going to talk about just one chapter in Unification Thought, which is the theory of ethics. And the reason I'm focusing on that is because actually the three sessions that I've broken out these into are basically to give you a Unification Thought picture of the first blessing and the second blessing and the third blessing. Because those are the very purposes of life. And the first blessing gets only one paragraph, one paragraph. And behind that first blessing is all of these ideas. And the second blessing is the most amazing thing, and it has also a single paragraph. Now I learned, of course, there's so much in the holy books about the second blessing. Excuse me. And but I find that in the theory of ethics is a very condensed version that that's really helped me work out so many things in my life. So I wanted to share the theory of ethics now, a little peek into it. Now you'll recognize that I did use a lot of this morning for this morning's sermon. First thing I want to mention is that Unification Thought, one of the books in the very first chapter of ethics, describes this Unification Thought theory of ethics as an ethics of attendance. And there's another one of those words that especially in English, it doesn't have a terribly deep taste because I associated attendance with going to school, and attendance, in school. If you're here, when you hear your name, raise your hand, and that's it. But in Unification Thought, and the way Father uses attendance, it's really much, much, much deeper than that. And I was at a Unification Thought conference in University of Bridgeport a couple of years ago, and Dr. Jung Chung Chae, in his keynote address to open that seminar, said he chose for some reason to talk about attendance as one of the key points. And he said that you folks have a very Confucian idea of attendance, and that's not what we mean. And what he meant by Confucian idea of attendance is that he felt that our idea of attendance was only vertically upward. We attend our elders, we attend the leader, and that's what attendance is. He said that's not what Father means. So he began to explain it, and then I also looked up the Chinese characters, and from the Chinese dictionary online, here's the Chinese character for attendance. One side of it is a human being. You can see it looks like a person walking. And the other side of it is the Chinese character for feeling, emotion, sentiment, love, affection. That's what attendance is. A human being and feel emotion, feeling, sentiment, love, affection. The dictionary definition is it comes naturally to man. Attendance is what comes naturally to man. Attendance is inherent in human nature. Attendance is affection. It's love. It's personal attachment. It's a gesture of kindness and generosity. That's what is meant by attendance. And then, I always look for a character with the word heart in it. And then further down the page, I saw the Chinese character for attentive. And this is the one that I really like. So what is attentive? Well, the dictionary definition is to be alert, to be on the watch, to keep in mind. But the two Chinese characters are in. This is the Chinese, you can see there's a person inside a house, it looks like. So this is a character for in. And this is the character that they're choosing to use as mind. Well, it's not a mind, it's a heart. That's what it is. So to be attentive means to have someone in your heart. So that's what when we attend somebody, it's an attitude of having them in our heart. And you'll notice that in both of these words, there's no mention at all of direction. You see. And that's what Dr. Chae wanted us to understand. When you attend somebody, you attend this way, you attend this way, your peers, you attend everybody. You keep those people in your heart. So I would really like you to think of attendance in a new way. Please think of it this way. And look at what Chen Sung Young says. In this sense, your grandfather is there representing God, so you should attend him in place of attending God. Okay, we attend our grandfather. Your parents are in the position of king and queen, centering on the families of 5 billion people living on the earth, so we attend our mom and dad. Then, Father said, the children should be attended as the kings and queens of the future. The children should be attended, you see? So that's what Abundant is talking about. It's not just, it's keeping them in your heart, and even the children, keeping them inside your heart. And then more recently in my readings, I ran across this one, and this is pretty amazing. It's the ultimate one. God believes, works, and lives in attendance. God believes in attendance. God works in attendance. God lives in attendance. Well, who the heck is God attending? There's nobody up there. There's nobody above God. So who's God attending? Who's God living and working and believing in? He has all of us in his heart. You see, he attends us. Can you understand? You understand? So attendance it's a really different kind of concept. And when we attend each other, when we strive to attend, let's remember that this is more what it's really about. It's having somebody in your heart. Right? And so this whole ethics is an ethics to show us how to attend each other. So let me give a few points here. I just want to just give me a second here. There are a number of sections in the Unification Thought theory of ethics, and I did give you a little taste of it this morning when I explained that this is the 4-position foundation as we know it, an invisible God. This is the 4-position foundation where God's love is expressed to us through these 4 different forms of love. And as I pointed out to you in Chen Sung Young, there are now 5 realms of true love, and that God's love. God wants to express his love to us through each other in our family. You heard me say this morning, right? Please don't forget that. Okay, so then, so to restore original order, 3 generations must cohabit, and brothers and sisters must have each other. So the nuclear family is incomplete compared to the original idea, which can be discerned in the order of the universe. So this idea of 3 generations is something that's really, it's not in our culture. My wife tells me that even in Taiwan, where she's from, the idea of 3 generations that's also fading. But please understand that that's actually what Father and Mother want us to understand. That at least my wife comes from a 4-generation family, which is pretty cool. But please understand, please do begin to grapple with this idea that 3 generations is really a wonderful way to go, if we do it right. So each one of us will do it in our own way, just like the matchings and the blessings happen according to each family and each individual and each couple. Well, the idea of 3 generations also, there's not one right way to do it, but there's somehow, I would encourage you to start thinking about a right way. I mean, not a right, but a way to do this. There's one of the girls that I work with at headquarters. When she got blessed, she was so happy to live in her own apartment with her husband. And then she had a baby, and she moved back into her mother's house. And she said, I really appreciate it. But, that's by the way. So, in Unification Thought, there's a distinction between ethics and morality. And this is something that philosophers often do. They'll take a word and they'll give it a special meaning in order to explain something that they mean in their philosophy. In our ideal, the difference between ethics and morality is this. Morality is the norm of behavior for our internal life that goes on inside of us, between God and ourselves. It's the norm for a person as an individual. And it's the perfection of the first blessing Mind and body centered on God, temple of God, one with God, feeling God's heart is our own. That's morality has to do with that. It's the norm for the perfection of the individual four-position foundation. Individual meaning God, mind, body, and not myself. That's an individual four-position foundation. It's a subjective norm. On the other hand, ethics has to deal with its behavior in the human family, between people, not within, but between others. So it's the norm of behavior for a person as a connected body, and it applies to family ethics, business ethics, and government ethics. We'll talk about that later. Perfection of the second blessing. So ethics has to do with the second blessing. It's a norm for the family quadruple base, not just mind and body inside me, but my husband and wife. So, and it's the objective norm. So subjective means it's the key. The individual's moral integrity is the key for the family to have ethical relationships with each other. So we're going to first talk then about ethics. And one of the interesting points that Unification Thought makes is that there is a law of heaven. Now this is an Asian concept, but it has to do with the order of things. And so here's a quote that can help us understand. Love has 12 directions because the person in each of the four positions has a different kind of love for each of the three object partners. Consequently, various kinds of love with different nuances come to appear. In order to realize these various kinds of love, various kinds of virtue are required. So there's love with nuances, and in order to express and experience those different nuances, then there are various kinds of virtue which express those nuances of love. And so with each kind of love, there's a corresponding virtue. The aim of ethics is to fully explain the virtues of love. For me, before I knew the principle, when you say love, I think of only one kind of love, and that's romantic love between a man and a woman, and that brings joy. But from unification, from divine principle, and then especially through unification thought focus, I realized that there's at least 12 different flavors of love, 12 different nuances. 12 different nuances, each with their own expression of joy. And so there are virtues. So in order to make our experience of love more complete, and so we understand all these multiple directions, that's what Unification Thought will try to explain. Ethics is the norm of behavior of a person occupying a certain position of the family, four-position foundation, and directed toward the three object partners. So in chapter 1, we talk about the triple objective purpose. What is that? It's mentioned once there, and then after that, you don't really hear of it again. And so the importance of it is lost. But I came to understand that through this explanation, the triple objective purpose means the three objects of devotion, three objects of affection, three objects of my love and of my joy. That's what the three objects are. You understand? So that's why three objects purpose is important, because my dad, my mom, my dad-in-law, my mom-in-law, they're the first object. Of course, heavenly parent, of course. But in the physical four-position foundation, so the kind of love that they express to me and the way I express to them is different from the kind of love I express in this direction to my brothers, to my sisters, to my spouse especially. And then that's different from the kind of love that I express to my third objects, my children, right? And then for each individual, it's the same way. Each individual has three objects of love, devotion, heart, affection. Can you understand? So that's where the 12 different nuances come about. So I'm saying, well, really, there's 12 different nuances with different flavors. Okay, let's see what these are, because I can maximize and multiply my happiness and joy. In Asia, of course, in Asia they talk about a way of heaven, and this I understand. I was talking with Reverend Yang last night that the way of heaven is an Oriental philosophy. It's mentioned in Confucianism, and in Taoism. But heaven is some nebulous, impersonal law or something, right? But and so that's why it doesn't have a lot of weight when we're talking about, oh, we should follow the way of heaven. But Father, being a man of the 20th, 21st century, a man of science, says the way of heaven is much more literal and graphic. And you can see the way of heaven in the organization of all living things, particularly at the macrocosmic level. There's clearly a vertical order. You can see it in nature, in all things in nature. There's clearly a horizontal order in all things in nature. And so this was actually very important for me, because the idea of order and relating to people vertically and all of those things, if they can be easily attacked, and they are attacked if they are only cultural, based on a culture, or based on a theology, a teaching, a custom. They can be attacked, and they are being attacked. But if you say that, okay, it's not just cultural inheritance, it's not just a religious teaching, someone's theology, this is a law of organization in nature itself. That's where it comes from. That's what's rooted in, right? So, Unification Thought says, the human being is a microcosm miniaturizing the universe. And family is a microcosmic system miniaturizing the system of the universe. The law that interpenetrates the entire universe, physical universe, is talking about, is the way of heaven. Accordingly, the norm for family life or ethics is the manifestation in miniature of the way of heaven. Because please remember that everything in nature was designed after us. So God designed the human being first, and then He designed the human family, and then by simplifying that, everything else in nature comes about. So this vertical order that we see in the heavens actually originates with human, and the human family in particular. So, and then there's this negative kind of caution. And it's an interesting analogy. So look at our solar system, look at the sun in the middle, and look at the planets all in their orbits, in a similar plane, going around our sun. If the Earth violates law, the solar system will perish. Meaning, if the Earth leaves its orbit, then all havoc can break loose. There are collisions of us and Mars, or collision of us and Mercury, so all the planets maintain position and observe the law of gravity. So that's what maintains the beautiful order of our solar system and all of the other solar systems out there in the universe. So by analogy, in the family, persons must follow the laws of ethics. And then it says, if families violate ethics, they will be destroyed. So this means that if we can really hurt our family, if we violate the laws of ethics, in the same way that a planet, if it doesn't follow the laws of physics, then it can also wreak havoc in the solar system. You understand the analogy? So this is something to think about. So then, here is the vertical order that we are directed to look at. It's clear. There is very definitely, at the macrocosmic level, a vertical order in which smaller satellite bodies always have a higher center that they go around. So here's that's an actual photo from the Hubble telescope. I wish we could shut this light off with the spotlight on me, because oh wow! You can see a little better, and you can still see me, right? Okay, good. All right. So this is an actual photo from the Hubble telescope of a spiral galaxy, and in that spiral galaxy, you can see that there are many stars, and each of those stars is a solar system, and each one of the solar systems has its sun, and then each one of those suns is revolving around the galaxy, around the center of this particular galaxy in an orderly, beautiful way. So that's where you can see this vertical order. The moon, we have one moon. revolving around us, and then we, like the other planets, revolve around our sun. Our sun revolves around the center of our Milky Way galaxy, and our Milky Way galaxy is one of 200 billion galaxies that are moving outwards from the point where the Big Bang occurred. So there's a physical center of the universe. And so there's your vertical order right there. Of course, in nature, you can see it. In animals, there's always, like, I think, flying birds. Right? There's always, when they're migrating, there's the bird in the very front. And so that would be the vertical center for them. Even in the human body, or even in a plant, you can see the vertical center around which everything else is organized. So that comes from this design. That's where it comes from. This is the original design of vertical order, and upon which this design was based. So this design was derived from this one. So we look at this is what we mean by the way of heaven. It's not just cultural, it's not just a religious teaching, it's something we observe in nature. It's an organizational principle of the natural world. Now, there are vertical virtues that characterize the expression of vertical love downward. And the Unification Thought lists these virtues: benevolence, wisdom, dignity, authority, respect, clemency, concern, education, protection, guidance, patience, forbearance, fortitude. Benevolence is the primary form of vertical love downwards, parental love, basically. So if you look at the Latin word, it's bene volens. Bene means good, volens means will. So the heart of the parent is good, willing goodness, wishing blessing and success and all kinds of things for the child. I think this is, so if you look at the Chinese character for benevolence, this is what it looks like. It's this here is a human being, and this is two. And this, you notice, it has heart in there. And so this is the kernel, the humane, and this means to love, affection, to be fond of, to like. So that's what benevolence is. It's to be fond of, to love, to have a heart for another person. And that's the fundamental form of vertical love downwards. And then it's expressed through wisdom and all these other virtues. If I had time, there's some time. And you might think, if you've seen Albanen, you might be able to think of examples where you actually received his benevolence, or you received his wisdom, or you saw his dignity, or you saw his authority, or you saw how he gave respect to you, or how he was merciful, or how he's concerned, or how he educated and protection. The Chinese character for patience is something I always like to share, because this is a parental love. Look at the Chinese character for patience. You got to laugh at this one. It's a heart with a knife in it. That's somebody said yes, but so that's kind of interesting. Chinese character, patience, forbearance, fortitude. So these are things that we should learn how to model for those who are younger than us. These virtues. These are expressions of love downwards. There are expressions of love upwards, and now this is the one that's mentioned in Divine Principle, Chapter 1. Chapter 1 does mention filial piety. Chapter 1 does mention loyalty. And the virtues that Unification Thought mentions are also obedience, trust, and respect. The fundamental form of vertical love upwards is filial piety. And filial piety is a remarkable character. Here it is. Okay, as usual, there is the heart. And here is the Chinese character for, and it's two characters, one on top of the other. This one here means earth or root or elder. And this one at the bottom means the child or the younger. So this is a very, very rich picture. Have you ever seen a movie where a tribe is moving from one place to another? It can be. I've seen this in movies about American Indians, Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, Eskimos. When a tribe moves from one place to another, you will often see an image of a young man carrying his grandfather or his mom on his back. Remember that kind of image? Have you seen that? That's what this is, you see. So filial piety is this kind of heart for the child that the child has towards their dad and mom, because they understand their indebtedness. They owe their physical life to their dad and mom. They owe everything in their life to their dad and mom. And so when their dad and mom comes to this point in their life when they finally start to need, the child feels a heart to this artistic, desire and I was going to say longing, but to take care of their beloved mom and dad. You see, so filial piety is an amazing virtue. Loyalty also has an amazing character. Loyalty, once again, is the heart, and this character above the heart means center. So it's interesting, when you look at the character for loyalty, where does your heart belong to? It belongs to something outside, in fact, above you. So that's what loyalty is. My heart is not about me. I don't love myself primarily. My heart is outside. It's centered on someone outside and in fact above. So my heart belongs to that person. What I realized, I have to... before I used to think that filial piety and loyalty were duties. But then when I had an experience with, especially with Dr. Suk, he was my martial arts teacher in Korea, and Dr. Suk really, really loved his members, especially his black belts. He really, really loved his black belts, and some of you know. He was so proud of us, and I was one of his first black belts in the seminary. He really, really loved us and took care of us, and we had dinner with him every Wednesday or something in the side room, and he'd tell us about our future and all kinds of stuff. So he really loved us, and he basically took our hearts. I remember I was walking out of the New York hotel, going to a restaurant on 33rd Street, Koreatown, and the black belts and Dr. Suk were walking out. One of my friends was in the lobby, and he said he saw Dr. Suk and us black belts walking out with Dr. Suk, and he told us, the guy standing next to him, there goes Dr. Suk and his mafia. Yeah, that's right. And then I was at a CARP conference in Korea, and then the Korean CARP leader saw Dr. Suk and I standing next to each other. And he said, Dr. Suk, I don't think Gerry is your member, I think he's your disciple. And Dr. Suk and I heard that, and we just kind of looked at each other and just kind of grinned, because it was such a joy that someone could see that it was not just leader-member relationship, but it was really, like the guy had, we had each other's heart. That's what it was, So then I began to realize loyalty is actually a source of joy. It's a source of joy. It is a duty, of course, especially in restoration. We have to try to make ourselves be loyal. In restoration, we have to work at filial piety. But it's also, the other side of it originally is these are sources of joy. Let me show you something that I didn't realize about the principle. And then I noticed it after studying Unification Thought. This is a chapter right out of section 4 in the Principle of Creation, where it talks about original value. Now, so pay attention to this. In interpersonal relationships, the beauty that a subordinate returns in response to the love of a superior is called loyalty. The beauty that children return in response to the love of their parents is called filial piety. The beauty that a wife returns in response to the love of her children's husband is called fidelity. Now, I've highlighted in response to, because in my experience in restoration was that duty and filial piety were my principal duty in restoration to indemnity, right? But in chapter 1, in the DP, this is not my revelation, this is in the book, it says that loyalty and filial piety are a response when you feel loved by your subject, then your heart goes back to that person. This is the quality of relationship, I believe, that one Pil Kim had with Almanin. He wasn't loyal to Almanin, he wasn't filial to Almanin because he should, it was his principal duty. He was filial to Almanin, I believe, from all his testimony, because Almanin stole his heart. Can you understand? So this is something I really think we should think about going forward, especially. that we can require our spouse to be faithful to us, to have fidelity, because it's the right thing to do in restoration. We can require our members and to be loyal to us because it is proper in restoration through indemnity. And filial piety, our children should have us towards us because it's necessary in the principle of restoration. But when you go back to the original world, what are these things? These are things you evoke out of somebody by loving them. Can you understand the difference? Can you understand the difference? That loyalty is the response of a heart that's been loved. Filial piety is the natural response of a child who has been loved. Fidelity is the response of a spouse who has been loved. Can you understand what I'm saying here? Because I have to finish. Right? Okay, so I thought that was really, really important to realize about those virtues. I want to now move on to horizontal virtues. Let's see, so horizontal virtues, this is the list: fidelity, reconciliation, tolerance, obligation, courtesy, modesty, compassion, cooperation, service, sympathy, justice, sincerity, helpfulness, understanding. That's the list that has appeared repeatedly in Unification Thought books. It appears in the theory of axiology and then is carried over into the theory of ethics. The main form of horizontal love from brothers and sisters and peers to each other is fidelity. It comes from the Latin word fides, which means faith, faithful. So the brother and sister who is the most faithful to you is the one that who owns your heart. That brother or sister will stand by me and is faithful and true to me no matter what. That friend is faithful and true to me no matter what. So they have your heart, they have your heart because of their fidelity to you. And of course the spouse would be the same way. And then there's reconciliation, tolerance. So fidelity, okay, before I show you the Chinese character for fidelity, I'm going to show you this Chinese character for sincerity. And this is, in Walt Hagen Strawberry, this was identified as father's favorite word. And that is sincerity. And if you look at it, of course, it's a matter of the heart. But when you look at the other side of it, it's this part here means the word, and this part here on the right means to become. To become. So, sincerity is an attitude of the heart where I become the word. I don't speak it. I don't say, oh, I love you, but without words, it's I am. I am love for you. So this is what fidelity is. It's not by words. And so it's funny, my wife and I have been married for like over 30 years, blessed in Madison Square Garden. I had to learn as an American. I just wanted to tell her how much I loved her, and she would be mad and upset with me. Don't say that, don't say that. So I'm trained after 30 years of marriage to never say those 3 words to her, because she doesn't want to hear it. She wants to see it. She wants to see it. And I tell you, that is much harder and much more rewarding. When she knows, because she sees it and she feels it, not hears it. Words are cheap, right? So, sincerity is really something to really think about. Now I can show you the character for fidelity. Fidelity is the Chinese character, and it's made of loyalty and sincerity put together. That's what fidelity is. So there you go. That's an amazingly profound meaning. What is it to be faithful to somebody? Fidelity towards them. It means your heart is for them, and you are the word. You are the word. You don't speak it. You don't make noise. You are the word, and the heart is true. That's what fidelity is. You understand? And so this is the most beautiful, beautiful virtue between brothers and sisters, between friends and friends, and especially between husbands and wives. Now, one thing I'll say quickly is that fidelity, reconciliation, all of these virtues, you should be practicing as you were a child growing up. You should learn how to reconcile. You should learn how to be tolerant with your brothers and sisters. You should be practicing this stuff. You should learn about your obligations fulfilling them. You should learn about courtesy. You should learn about modesty from the time you're 1 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21. And you know what? If you practice these virtues for 21 years and you got them down, you will have people knocking on your door. Are you interested? You know what I'm saying? So please don't think, don't waste your time and just be coasting along and not developing these virtues. Don't waste your time. Just because you get matched and blessed doesn't mean suddenly, you're automatically going to be faithful and reconciliate. No, these are things you have to practice and practice and practice for decades to get down. You understand what I'm saying here? Because I'm going to have to move on. I can't spend time. But these are. And now the last thing I'll tell you about this is that in my experience, this is the recipe for romantic love. Yes. Let me tell you. So reconciliation, my wife and I, we are the couple who, we do have arguments. We do disagree with each other. So, okay, dinner table, we argue about finances or kids or something, and loud words are exchanged, and her heart is hurt and my heart is hurt. But I know the virtue of reconciliation is the expression of horizontal love. I know that I am the main avenue of God's love into that girl's life. So if I cut myself off because I'm upset with her, you know what I'm doing? I'm cutting off the main avenue of God's love into that young girl's life. That's what I'm doing. And that's wrong. That's wrong. So, because I know that, because of this virtue of reconciliation, when she goes to the sink and starts soaping and wiping, I'll stand next to her. I'll take the washcloth or the cloth and I'll wait until she's rinsed. And when she's rinsed, I'll put my hand out. She'll give me the dish, and I'll wipe the dish and I'll put it in the rack, and then I'll wait for the next one. We're not looking at each other. We can't look at each other because we're both upset, we're both hurt, we're both angry. But this is reconciliation. I'm saying to her, I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me, I'm right, you're wrong. Which sometimes turns out to be, not the case. But anyway, the point is, reconciliation is a very important virtue. Because even if we don't agree, God loves that girl. And I can't be the one to stop God going on to that girl, because God loves her. You understand? So reconciliation is a really important expression of horizontal love. Tolerance, that's a great one. Obligation, courtesy is an expression of horizontal love. This is cool. When I go to the restaurant, so I go to the restaurant and my wife is there. Then we go to they lead us to the table. So I take the bag and then I go behind her and I hold the shoulders of her jacket or sweater, and then she slips out, and then she slips out of the other one, and I put the jacket and I fold it over. Then I pull out the chair, and then I put the chair in, And then after the dinner is over, then I run and I get the bag and I get the jacket and I pull out the chair, and then the bag is over here on my shoulder, and I hold up the jacket, and in goes one sleeve. And then in goes the other sleeve, and then because she has long hair, I'll take the hair and I'll lift it up so that it goes outside the jacket, outside the collar, and then once both arms are in there, then I'll let the hair down, and then I'll give her the bag so it goes on her shoulder. This is courtesy. It's an expression of horizontal love. Can you understand? It's an expression of how much God loves her. So she knows that she's loved. Can you understand? Modesty is an expression of love. The way we dress, the way my wife dresses, she's Taiwanese, and how they have these, she doesn't have to dress with, down here, and the pants over down here, she doesn't have to do that. You know how they dress in those silk things with the little collar that goes all the way up? Everything's covered, But it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. Modesty is an expression of her love for me. If I was if I was more ripped, I could walk around with my shirt hanging over my shoulder. Ow! But I don't, even though I'm so ripped. because it's an expression of, well, anyway, you get the idea. Modesty is an expression of love. So I really think, I really wish that some young man and some young woman would go into the fashion industry and design stuff that was incredibly beautiful and yet modest. I think they would make a killing, honestly, if they did it right. So I think so all of these virtues are expressions of love, and sympathy, justice, helpfulness, understanding, compassion, cooperation. I've tried to live by these virtues, and they're really, really. Some friends, they tell me that they tell my wife that she's spoiled, and then some of my friends tell me that I'm spoiled. So it works. It's good. This exchange of horizontal. So I wanted to share those horizontal virtues that express horizontal love. Now, I will say, and then finally, let's see. And then finally, morality. Morality is individual virtue. And individual virtue is what goes on inside. So just as the planet rotates on its axis, then individuals should have moral value. This is the list that Unification Thought provides us. Purity, honesty, righteousness, temperance, courage, wisdom, self-control, endurance, independence, self-help, fairness, diligence, innocence, self-reliance, dignity, integrity, etc. It's interesting to me that, okay, first of all, these are enormously attractive. I remember I went to one workshop that my son taught, and he put this list on he was teaching high school, and he put this list on the screen of moral virtues. And he said, I know you guys think, this is just another list, but watch this. And he says, he went to the girls, he said, girls, what do you think about if you find a guy who's pure, who's honest, who's righteous, who's temperate, who's courageous, who's wise, who's self-controlled, enduring, independent, fair, diligent, innocent, self-reliant, dignity, integrity, and all the girls are going like, wow. And then my son said, you see that? So these virtues are something that you really need to take seriously, because this is how you become a beautiful, beautiful person. You understand? So I'm really encouraging. Every list I've ever seen, in every book, and there are 7 books in UT, purity is always #1. I don't know exactly why, but I have an ideal why purity is always listed at the first. It really has to, your personal spiritual integrity depends upon purity. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the internet age where, your purity can just, you know what I'm saying? So please, these also, I said you should practice these virtues all throughout your growing period, 1 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21. These also, moral virtues, are something you really ought to be practicing, and us older folks too. But this is what will secure our position as being wonderful grandfathers and wonderful grandmothers, by securing our personal integrity by practicing these moral virtues. The last thing I'll say while I'm rushing is that, you know what? I'm going to stay on time. So I'm going to cut it here. Okay. Those are some highlights that I wanted to throw out to you about unification ethics. You know what? I do have to, this is important. So these family ethics, the ethics, the patterns of behavior we learn in a family are what we should carry into society, into social ethics, education ethics, state, government, and even business ethics. I was a professor in State University of New York for a few years, and by carrying these ethics into the classroom, Unification Thought ideas, I tell you, my class was full every single semester. As soon as the registration for my class would open up, it would be filled up, and I always had a waiting list for my class. It was web construction, But because I took these ideas and the way Father and Mother taught me into the classroom, my class always did well, and I got my peer reviews were also very, very good. When I left that school in order to teach GPA up in Gloucester, Massachusetts, I handed in my key and the room key and my ID, and the department leader said, "Gerry, keep your ID and keep your office key whenever you want that class, and that seat is yours whenever you want it." So this is the real result of applying unification thought, chapter 1 thinking in real life. That's as far as education goes. Corporate ethics. This is what I'll close on. The role of a manager of a company is to offer good welfare to employees. Once the company has made money, managers should return an appropriate share of it to the employees. The manager of a company should have an altruistic spirit of service. That's in New Essentials of Unification Thought. An older one said, the idea that the president of a business or organization should reap most of the benefit is wrong. In order to create a family-like atmosphere, his attitude should be that he is earning money not primarily for himself, but for his employees. And then Dr. Lee, or Unification Thought, gives an example. There will be no need then for employees to strike in order to take money away from the president. They will try to cooperate with him as if he were their parent or older brother, assisting him in the development of the company. In this way, they will really have something to live and work for. And even say, I have enough to eat. You don't need to give me a big salary. The president, however, may say in the plan, no. With prices as high as they are, your salary can't be enough. You need more money to take care of your family. As the president and employees enter into a close give-and-take relationship, the company prospers. The reason I can talk about this with so much confidence is because I've used them. When I was teaching martial arts in the Philippines, we had 1,000 students all over the country studying martial arts. And my members in the Philippines, in order to eat, they food raised. So that means every night before the grocery stores were closed, they would go to all of the grocery stores and ask for food that was spoiled and could not be sold the next day. This is what my members ate: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 7 days a week, all year long. And then I realized that, okay, through martial arts, don't do it for free. Charge, because you are teaching people how to defend themselves. You are teaching them good skills, so charge for it. And then I had this idea that we should make platforms, right? So based on Unification Thought ideas, we got the heaviest canvas, and we triple-stitched canvas so that you pull on it and it wouldn't tear. Really high quality. So our cost was very high, the cost of production. So at retail, we had to charge, we were the highest, most expensive martial arts uniform in the Philippines. But do you know, because it was really good, and the other thing too is that I wanted my members to teachers to have money, to pay for the events, but also to take care of their health, their food. So the biggest department store in the Philippines, the biggest chain, Target coming to you saying, well, the biggest department store chain in the Philippines came to us and said, we would like you to be our martial arts clothing supplier. So this to me is a verification that this is actually a true philosophy. You understand? You have a heart for your members, you make good products for the society, and the spirit world will bless you. So I have them. And I was thinking, oh geez, we could do sunglasses, we could do duffel bags, we could do sweatbands, we could do, but the thing is, we only had 2 brothers and 2 sewing machines, and that was it, So we had to say, no, we can't do it. But it was enough for me to realize that this is the right way to do business. Where you really, as a parent, you take parental ethics into the business world, and the spirit world will bless you. That's my experience. I've tried it here in America through different situations, and I believe it from my experience. So that's what I wanted to share about some points about the theory of ethics. Any questions? Yes. Your name?
Yeah, Joseph.
Joseph.
You mentioned earlier that the unification thought took a Western terminology for the chapter. Is original human nature part of Western philosophy, or is that unique unification thought? That terminology, original human nature.
I believe that the philosophers have always had an idea of an ideal man. So whatever it says in the Korean comes out as, that idea comes out as original human nature. Okay, if there are no more questions, let me say a quick prayer. Heavenly Parent, thank you very much for all of the wealth and the riches that you've given to us. Thank you for this new building. Thank you for the beautiful environment, and thank you for this beautiful afternoon. Heavenly Parent, we pray, Heavenly Parent, we report that we have listened to these ideas. We could be someplace else right now, but we made a choice to be here, to try to listen, to understand your heart and your hope, and to be better sons and daughters to you. Please receive our offering. Please receive our effort. We pray that for each other. We pray that for each other. Thank you. I report in the name of Servito, bless Central family, and all of the Central families here.